See, my 9/11 happened to me in Lebanon in 1975 when radical Islamists blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble wounded, as they shouted, Allahu Akbar. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months and later ended up living in a bomb shelter 6 feet underground in an 8 by 10 room without electricity and no water and very little food. And that's where I lived for 7 years of my life, from the age of 10 till the age of 17, robbed of my youth. So I understand what happens when people turn a blind eye to evil, thinking, it's not going to happen to me, it's all the way over there, let them all kill each other. Well, over there is no longer contained over there, it's over here, and we must protect America.
Well, we really must, and it's clear that there is a growing influence of radicalism. I don't think every Muslim, I know many Muslims, and many of them are appalled that people in the name of Islam would do horrible things. And that's not your beef, but you have been very outspoken that we have turned a blind eye to the radicalization of the religion and to weaponizing it into wanting to kill anyone who didn't agree with them. How dangerous is it in America right now?
It is very dangerous. Look, just because we are distracted with other things does not mean our enemy forgot about us. Just a few weeks ago, we had the man in New Mexico with the compound training children to shoot up schools. Can you imagine if this would have happened, if he would have carried on with that? Just because we forgot about it doesn't mean our enemy has forgotten about it. And what's so concerning right now is now we're seeing a coalition of the leftists and the Islamists coming together against America and coordinating. So on one side, you know, a few years ago, we'd be worried about the suicide bomber walking into a room like this and blowing us all up to smithereens.
We checked everybody out. Everybody's cool. You're okay. Except that one guy on the third row. I'm a little worried about him.
But what's happening right now, we're worried also just as much about Antifa and the left and people who hate cops and want to kill cops. We cannot lose law and order in this country. And that's exactly why I wrote Rise. Rise in defense of Judeo-Christian values and freedom. And we need to come together as a nation, throw political correctness in the garbage, and especially Christians and people who love this country need to come together and stand up in defense of America.
The book that you've written is...
America is being transformed before our very eyes. The flag that once flew on every street corner in the United States is now considered a hate symbol on college campuses. Patriotism is seen as hateful. Our police officers are being killed by thugs and criminals, while the mainstream media victimizes their killers. Freedom of speech is being eliminated by the tyranny of intolerance. Christmas is under assault. The very foundation of our nation is under assault. And I speak to a lot of Christians and they say, oh, Brigitte, I'm praying about it. It's not enough to pray. It's important to pray. But Jesus himself was an activist. Jesus stood up against evil. Jesus didn't sit on the sidelines and said, I'm going to pray about it. So this is why, and at the end of every chapter I wrote, I not only lay out the problem and educate, but at the end of every chapter I have a section titled Rise Up and Act. Because you can pray, you can hope for America, you can wish for America, but without taking action, nothing happens.
Brigitte, you talk in the book about the need for securing borders and having a genuine control on the immigration system. It's a major theme that you've developed in the book Rise. So I want you to discuss how are we doing on that in America?
We're doing bad right now. We're doing very bad right now, and this is exactly why we need to stand with President Trump in securing our borders, controlling our immigration, fixing our visas, the chain migration, ending chain migration. Look, I came to this country as an immigrant. I understand what it's like to want to come to America. I paid for my airline ticket. I paid for my attorneys. I paid for my doctor's visits to make sure I'm tested for every disease coming into the country that I don't have any. And I had to study a 2-inch thick book written by the daughters of the American Revolution about America's history and our heritage, and pass a written exam as well as a verbal exam in English about our history before I became an American. By the time I became an American, I knew more about America than my American-born husband.